Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, AFR Talk, the second hour of this Wednesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Let's grab a phone call before we jump back into content. Let's go to Juanita in Lincoln, North Carolina. Juanita, thanks for calling Focal Point. You're on with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Thanks for taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. I can hear you just fine, Juanita. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, as a fellow Christian, I was listening to your radio show this morning. I don't get to hear you that much because I don't actually live where I'm traveling right now. But I did hear a good bit of what you were saying, and I have a few points that I'd like to make. First of all, you were drawing a parallel about, the president's daughters having, lots of firepower to protect them, and then, there's certain people like that have guns. Well, I think training comes into play there, because one of the big issues I see here is I live in a part of the country where your average Joe Blow could walk into a gun show and buy, a half a dozen or more of these, whatever you want to call them, high-capacity weapons, and never have had an ounce of training about how to use them or how to be careful with them or where to store them or how to keep them away from kids. And, I think that's an issue, and I think that means that we can't compare, the average Joe Blow with his cache of semi-automatic weapons with, trained professionals like the Secret Service who are protecting our leaders. It's like a non-issue.
Well, let me ask you this, Juanita. So let me ask you this, Juanita. Would you be okay if we had, say, school personnel that were on a school campus that had a concealed carry permit, let's say, if they had received training in the use of weapons? Would you be okay with that?
Well, absolutely. They had that at Columbine. They had that at West Virginia at the college campus. Absolutely. And President Obama is now coming out and supporting that, which means that he is, when he invited the NRA to that round table, he listened to them and he's taking their suggestions, and he might have, mocked that in the beginning, but I think that he should be applauded for the fact that he's willing to listen to the other side and say, well, okay, now you're making some sense.
Well, let me ask you this, Juanita. Now, what President Obama is talking about is he is talking about putting law enforcement personnel on school campuses. Now, that's fine with him because that's bigger government. That's going to require more tax money, so he can use that to raise taxes on the American people. So he's down with that. Bill Clinton was all over that, putting more police officers at taxpayer expense in communities. But, you mentioned that there was a school resource officer at Columbine. He was out in the back parking lot when the thing went down. He was useless in that situation. Virginia Tech deal, you had some law enforcement officers around there. 32 people are dead because there wasn't anybody on that campus. There wasn't anybody at Columbine. There wasn't anybody at Virginia Tech. There wasn't anybody at Sandy Hook that was able to carry and was in a position to defend himself and vulnerable children until police arrived. The response time at Sandy Hook was 11 minutes. It took 11 minutes for the police to get there. By the time they got there, 26 people were dead.
Well, if the idea, and the NRA was the first to propose this, if the idea is to put armed personnel in schools, well, first of all, if that's the idea and that's the one that we're going to go with, and we're going to go with the notion that the only way to keep people safe is to keep, guns where you can shoot anybody that's bad, then the American people are going to have to suck up and pay for that. And we're going to have to pay for enough of them. What I don't understand is people want these things, but they don't want to pay for them.
Well, I understand. What you're saying, Juanita, and I'm absolutely fine with using law enforcement personnel to protect our schools. I'm fine with that. I have no beef with that whatsoever. I think that ought to be a matter of local control, local financing. They can decide what their priorities are going to be for their schools and their school children. But I've talked to some people that know about the school resource officer situation in their communities, and they will tell you, look, we have maybe one resource officer for every 4 schools. So they're only on one school campus at any given time. The other 3 have no armed presence. And that's the concern that I've got. Why don't we make it possible for law-abiding citizens? I mean, everybody's got to pass a background check. You buy a gun from a licensed dealer, you got to go through a background check. You know, I'm fine with having people that want to carry a weapon on a school campus pass a background check. I got no problem with that. But why don't we allow people who have a concealed weapons permit, maybe we can make sure that they've got some kind of certification, some kind of training. I'm fine with that. But let school personnel be the ones that carry weapons because they're there every day. School resource officer can't be there every day.
Well, I can tell you, if I'm a school teacher and I've got 30 kids in the classroom, there's not going to be a weapon in my classroom. I'm going to be spending my time learning how to train those children. But
let me ask you this, Juanita. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you. You got a room full of 30 kids, and Adam Lanza breaks into your classroom. He picks your classroom. He went in there, picked the kindergarten classroom, and cut down 20 kids in cold blood. And the teachers that were in that room said the same exact thing that you're telling me. I don't want to worry about guns in my classroom. I just want to teach my kids. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do if a crazed gunman breaks into your classroom and you have no weapon to defend these precious little children? What are you going to do?
Well, that gets to a whole nother issue that you were talking about earlier, and that's the issue of mental health. And I can tell you this because I'm now studying for my master's degree in mental health counseling. And I can tell you this right now. You were talking about how, you know, we're a country that, you know, we don't arrest people, you know, on what they might do, or we don't penalize them because of what they might do.
Right.
But I can tell you this, a lot of people die in this country because a mental health issue, first of all, the American Psychiatric Association has a manual of mental disorders. That mental illness is defined. You know, you may just say mental health, but mental illness is defined. And if you go by the diagnosis of mental illness, I can assure you that a psychiatrist knows when someone is living outside of the realm of reality.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Juanita. According to the American Psychiatric Association, transgenderism is a mental disorder. It's called gender identity disorder. Now, what I hear you saying is if anybody's transgender, they shouldn't be allowed to own a gun for their own protection.
I said that a psychiatrist knows when that someone has a mental disorder that makes them
So Juanita, I'm running out of time.
Risk of using. Okay.
Yeah, I'm running out of time here, so I just have 15 seconds. So what I hear you saying is you want to put psychiatrists in charge of deciding who is mentally well enough to have a gun.
Well, I can tell you that my next door neighbor, who's bipolar, okay,
and shouldn't have a gun, and you think he shouldn't have a gun.
Half of the time, think someone is trying to kill him, and when you could semi-automatic weapon to blow his head off any day of the week.
Okay, well, listen, Juanita, I'm sorry. I am up against a hard break. I'm going to have to let you go. I appreciate your call. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in on the road. Hope you'll have an opportunity. You can catch us online, by the way. Anybody can catch us online at www.afr.net. Focal Point, AFR Talk, back in 2.